Welcome to the Freelance Unlocked Behind the Scenes series, where I'm showcasing the amazing people who will be at Freelance Unlocked Conference, the first and the best conference for freelancers that is made with love, and it'll take place in Berlin on May 14th, 15th, 2025. If you're a freelancer in Europe, it's an event made for you to learn, exchange experiences, and build your network of great freelancers and experts who move the freelance economy forward. So go to freelanceunlocked.com and grab your ticket right away. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Freelance Unlocked, and my guest is Jon Younger, a founding partner of the Agile Talent Collaborative, a published author, educator, leadership coach, and I know people say that a godfather of the freelance revolution. So, hello, Jon.
Hello, Yuri. Good to see you.
Welcome back. I loved having this interview with you last year, and I know it was a huge amount of people who wanted to talk to you after the interview and
Nice.
after your speech and on the Freelance Unlocked conference. So let's continue. Let's
Sure.
continue. So tell me, what changed in your freelancing life during the last year?
Um, Gosh, a lot of things changed. Uh, um, for the years 2023 and for most of 2024, I was privileged to be in a partnership called the Human Cloud with Matt Matola. Matt is amazing, and I guess around October, Matt and I decided we'd go our own ways. I had a little bit of a different idea of what I wanted to do, though I must tell you, what Matt is doing and now with Tony Buffum is just amazing. And you'll folks who are at the conference in May will meet Matt, I hope, meet Tony, I hope, and get to know both. I went in a slightly different direction. I retired. Well, that did not last, Yuri, and you know me well enough to know that retirement is not a strong suit for me. This is the fourth time I've retired, and, and this time it only lasted a couple 3 months. And I was frankly bored. I wanted a challenge, and there were some things that I had not achieved, and so I was very excited to build a new business, a startup with a fellow that I think by recommendation by reputation, named Alvaro Oliveira. Alvaro was employee number one at TopTal. He built their talent operations, and he subsequently built talent operations for Andela, two of the biggest platforms. And we are building together a company called Mensch.Work. You
Hmm.
are German, you know the term Mensch. It means a person of substance, a person of learning, a person of expertise, somebody that's worthy of your respect. Uh, and we thought that was the perfect name for a hub of talent focused on the implementation of transformation. Now, all of us know that 70% of transformations fail because of many reasons, but the most important of those reasons is people lack the arms and the legs, the skill sets, and the resources to get transformation done.
Hmm.
One thing to get the playbook, it's another thing to live the life. And we're excited to help organizations, particularly mid-market and fast growth organization companies, to really make transformation happen rather than describe what's possible, but then not get to it. We don't want people to leave the possibility of great achievement unfulfilled. And that's
Yeah.
our goal. And by the way, Yuri, we hope you'll be one of the less than 100 mensches in our
Yeah.
little club. So that's
Yeah.
exciting. And people who are in at the conference in May, uh, please please introduce yourself to me. Please let me have the opportunity to tell you what we're doing and why it's exciting. And we'd love any ideas that anybody else has. This is a community building activity that we're going step by step by step, and would love help from any number of friends.
Jon, it looks like you didn't retire, but you just took a rather longer vacation, I would say. So just to have a little bit of more than it's usually people take. And I'm curious, since you are back kind of from the vacation for sure, what is your quick take on the freelance economy and how it will develop in the near future?
It's a wonderful question. And I think what we're learning is that there is definitely a place, and an important place, for freelancing, an important place for independent expertise, independent professionalism, independent talent. And people are making that clear by the choices that they're making to be either full-time freelance or to be side giggers that are actively participating in businesses to increase their income or fill their enthusiasm. What I
Hmm.
believe to be true, Yuri, is that long term, freelancing is one of a number of ways that organizations get the resources that they need. It's a very important way, but it's only one of those ways. And I think what we're finding is that organizations need help in figuring out what percentage of their workforce and in what specific areas freelancing plays a role, where full employment plays a role, where contract employment plays a role. And the big challenge for many organizations is figuring out where freelancing and how freelancing becomes enfranchised as a truly important part of a total workforce strategy. Right now, it's been to the side. It
Hmm.
needs to come to the center.
Yeah. Hopefully, you never know. I feel like
I have a
freelance
hundred
economy.
percent. I'm absolutely convinced that we will continue to grow the freelance segment of resourcing. Absolutely convinced. But I also think that we've got to be mindful of the fact that there are other options, and there's a history and a culture around full-time employment that's hard to shake. So we've got to find our path in a way that will support not only startup companies that have an obvious need for us, but
Yeah.
also mid-market and enterprise companies.
I feel like it's a huge topic, and if we just go down the rabbit hole, we can talk about it for hours. Still, give me a sneak peek into what you'll be talking about on the Freelance Unlocked stage.
Sure. I'm going to be talking about a couple of things. One is we're holding a panel discussion focused on the topic of what's happening with independent management consulting. And what we know is that there are many platforms around the world that offer clients consulting support. And we know that many of the folks that are in those consulting platforms or consulting communities uh, are operating with former MBB consultants, former operational executives, and many other skill sets. Uh, we've invited a number of people to participate in a panel on what's happening in independent management consulting, and we'll have folks from the UK, from France, from England, obviously from Germany. We hope to have somebody from Turkey.
Hmm.
We'll have somebody from Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
Ir. We hope to have Yasmin Kumi from South Africa. So we're trying to get a truly global perspective on this, one of the three critical verticals, if I may call it that, in freelancing, which is the independent management consulting vertical. I think it'll be fantastic. We're going to ask those folks to tell us all about what they see as the future as well as they've experienced in the past. And then I'm doing my favorite thing. And my favorite thing, Yuri, is a lunchtime workshop. Last year, it generated 50, 60 people. This year, I hope we'll have at least that many and perhaps more. It's a 2 hour session called What Makes You Special and How Do You Articulate It in a Way That Causes You to Be Hired by Clients? And it's
Hmm.
really an interactive process where we ask people to take 30 seconds and share what's their specialty, what makes them worthy of employment by a particular client. And then we ask the rest of the group that's together to give them feedback. So we'll go around and around and around. Last year we hit 50 people. They had a good chance to get some feedback on their introductory elevator pitch.
Hmm.
And I think a whole bunch of people walked away thinking not only helpful, but also a lot of fun.
Some freelancers think that I'm not special. I'm just a developer, or I'm just a designer, or I'm just a community builder. I'm just doing the thing. So, why should freelancers care about being special?
We live in a competitive world. And the reality is that you may be absolutely perfect in your own mind for a particular client or a particular project, but that may not be the way that the client sees it. And the client may not know makes you special, what makes you stand apart from the rest of the crowd in terms of the unique ability that you bring to help them to get their job done, to meet their needs, etc. You know, we need to be able to crisply and cogently and accurately and enthusiastically describe what makes us perfect for that gig. If we can't do that, we're unlikely to be successful. And when we can do that, we're likely to be amazingly successful.
Mm.
But here's the problem. Freelancers aren't so good at selling their own wares. Freelancers don't like marketing. Freelancers overall don't like talking about what makes them great. And so, even more important for us to help people to be able to articulate what makes them special, because without it, they're not going to get the work that they want. They're not going to get the opportunity that they seek. They won't enjoy the life that they hope to enjoy. So, if we can both do that and do it in a fun way, I think it can be helpful.
What are the key elements of freelancers' personal brand stories that usually truly resonate with clients?
You know, I think that's a wonderful question. Let me try to answer that through an example. You and I both know that we have a startup called Mensch.Work, and that the nature of that startup is to help organizations to actually implement their transformations. And we've just started this business, but and we're not even out of stealth yet, but we do have a first client, and a wonderful person named Andrew has been working with them to help them to be successful. And you know, in our hub or community of folks at Mensch.Work, one of the things that we do is we ask each Mensch a couple of questions. What kind of work are you looking for? What's the circumstances of your best work? Third is, what are the factors that attract you or make you very uninterested in a particular gig? How much time are you willing to spend as part of this? Is this full-time, part-time? And are you remote, hybrid, or in the office? We asked all those questions of each of those folks. You know, it's really interesting. When I ask our first Mensch, what kind of work are they looking for? This was her answer. I'm looking to help people who are lost and can't find their way in business and leadership. I'm looking for opportunities to help people to get from A to B. And what I'm looking for in terms of a client is I need honesty, humanity, authenticity. I want clients that are open to support, that are open to work with me collaboratively, and are open to my ideas. That's a wonderful description. And the challenge for many freelancers, they don't know how to articulate that to the client, although they're very clear about how to articulate it to me or somebody else. What we want to do in our little business, and I think the more general question that you've raised, which is what gets in the way, I think it's hard for freelancers to answer the question of what helps you to do your best work. What kind of work are you looking for? What kind of clients do you like to work with? I think it's hard for them to articulate that honestly and clearly. I think they feel it, they know it, but it's a tough gig to be that honest, and it's an even tougher gig to keep looking for work. That's why people join platforms, because they weren't so excited about getting work themselves. And what we know is that, in general, people that are particularly successful as freelancers frequently don't participate in platforms because they already have their work. So we're in a certain sense trying to help folks to solve that problem that they have, which is asking for the gig they want, asking for the situation and the context that they want, and asking for the relationship that they hope to achieve. That's what real marketing is about. That's what real sales is, creating a human-to-human connection. It's hard for a lot of freelancers to do that.
You know what I hear from many freelancers that they are so busy searching for job that they don't have time to think about marketing, branding and sales stuff, etc. But I'm like, okay, but if you don't have time for this, how will you find clients? You will be always busy searching for them and they will never find you. If you are invisible, no matter how amazing expert you are, like if no one knows that you exist, they won't find you. And
Right.
I feel like it's chicken egg problem. It's always freelancers always have to prioritize and they always have to invest time, but it's something that might easily slip away because of the hustle of finding another job, another gig, etc. So yeah, it's really interesting topic, and I also know that freelancers are sometimes shy, and sometimes they struggle with imposter syndrome. Like, yeah, I don't know, everyone can do this. Why should like what makes me unique? So I'm curious, what would you say to those who doubt their uniqueness?
You're not digging well enough to understand what your uniqueness is. You're taking it for granted rather than articulating it and letting people know that that's what it is. It's I I think that for freelancing, successful freelancers understand that it's both a technical connection and a human connection,
Hmm.
professional connection and a human connection. And when we forget that it's a human connection and we think that it's only about your skill set or your past experience or it's something like that, well, you miss a great opportunity to both build a relationship and preserve and grow a relationship. The implication of what you just described is that we're all transactional. So I do that job and then I have nothing, and then I go look for another job, and then I have nothing, and then I look for another
Yeah.
job. Well, that's crazy. Every gig you get is an opportunity to build a relationship for a lifetime. Are you doing that?
It's a question. It's a question. I feel like I had one of the podcast conversation, and I remember this person told that every time I work with a client, every time I join a new team, I'm trying to make friends there. I'm trying to build relationships. And I was like, oh, okay, no wonder that you are okay with clients, that you don't have problems finding them because you always, approach it not just something that I'll do and I'm out, but an opportunity to start something, to grow a tree that will brings you apples in the future. So yeah, it's
I think you're absolutely right. And one of the easiest things for freelancers to do, easy, is just to take a piece of paper and say,
mm,
who do I need to contact once a year, just to remind them that I'm here? Who do I need to contact every 6 months? Who do I need to contact every quarter? Who do I need to contact every month? Who do I need to check in with every week? And if you actually work that out, it turns out to be an amazing way to build relationships and attract work, especially if you ask the following question, which I've always loved that Pat Petiti from Cadillac gave me, which is, what are you going to be doing over the next 6 months where I can be helpful? Let me know so I can prepare to be there for you when you need me. What an amazing sales and marketing statement that is, you know? And and one of the nice things about that is that it's not exactly as uncomfortable as saying, do you have work for me today?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so it may be something that shy freelancers who have trouble asking for opportunity can do because it doesn't sound quite as squishy. I don't know.
Yeah, I also know one more question that people usually ask to not sound like very salesy. Do you know anyone who might need my help? So they're
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, but the one you shared is like pretty much more, you know, level up. So basically, you are
Yes.
like creating
Yes.
a story with just one sentence, and I feel like it's real art, and
Yes. It
yeah,
is.
it's.
It is. And Pat was great at it. And when you do it personally, it's even more powerful. And the problem with, you know, anybody that could use my help, is what you're really saying is that you don't have anybody that could use your help. And if people hear that, they wonder what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So when you're asking somebody to make a recommendation, you're asking somebody for it's a big ask, right? And so we have to understand it as a big ask, not a little ask.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one thing, in addition to creating a list of
Sure.
people who to contact,
Yeah.
what's one thing freelancers can do today to start standing out more in the industry or on the freelance market?
Um, One is that you gotta choose where you want to play. So I think I received 10 emails, LinkedIn emails a day that say, I'm a developer, do you need me? I write websites, do you need a website? I never respond to those guys. And I don't respond to those guys
Yeah.
because I don't know them. So I think the number one thing that you've got to do is be known. And since you can't be known by everyone, you've got to decide what cohorts or what communities do you want to be known by, and then to take a line from my son Aaron, who works in our field, who's part of the VP at Randstad, and a very smart fellow, also a fine fisherman. And Aaron says, kind of the first rule of fishing is fish where the fish are. Pretty logical. But how often do we as freelancers not fish where the fish are? Or we don't even know where the fish are. We're just sending missives into space saying, I want you to love me, please hire me. This is not a productive way to get work or to build a reputation. So if you've got to build a reputation before you get work, you've got to know where you want to build a reputation, with whom you want to build a reputation, and then get to it. The work doesn't come
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, you need to use some legs, do some leg work.
Some
Yeah.
legwork,
So
yes.
not that easy, but something that people can't live without. And every time I hear some freelancer tells that they are struggling with finding clients, I'm like, do you do marketing? Are you on LinkedIn? Are your profile updated? Are you connecting with people? Are you sending some messages? Are you building relationships? And
Right.
if I hear no, I'm like, no wonder you don't have clients, you still have to work on it. It's not a full time where you have a manager who decides for you what to do next. You are your
Absolutely.
own manager and you are building your own business.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel like we'll have so much more to talk about at the conference and the Freelance Unlock itself. And I really wish to have a sky's the limit to this conversation, but time is the limit. So the final question: what would you say to your friend if they asked you whether they should go to Freelance Unlocked?
Come. I'm actually doing that. So whenever I get in my LinkedIn, each day I get some people writing to me. Whenever anybody is writing to me from Europe, and Europe for me extends as far as Turkey, um, and Greece, I say, "Are you coming to Freelance Unlocked?" And it turns out that uh, many people are not as familiar as they should be with Freelance Unlocked because uh, clients haven't figured out that Freelance Unlocked is good for them too.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that I try to do in my small personal way is to say, if you're a client of freelancing, you ought to be coming here. If you're not a client of freelancing, but you think you should be a client of freelancing, as in you're doing workforce stuff, your HR, your procurement, etc., for heaven's sakes, get to Berlin May 14th and 15th, meet lots of people, understand what's going on in other organizations and how the freelance community sort of sees the future. Um, don't make a mistake. So I hope what we'll see, I think the people that I wrote to me this morning were from Allianz, a very
Hmm.
large German insurance company, and I used to do some work with those guys. So perhaps we'll get some of them. And if you're European, In particular, you ought to be here. If you're from the States, you ought to think about being here. If you're from Latin America, you ought to think about being here. If you're from Asia, you ought to think about being here. But certainly, if you are part of Eastern or Western Europe, come. Ta-da.
Got it. Got it. And what is the best way to connect with you?
Uh, Gosh, I find me, grab me. I look forward to it. I'm going to be the oldest guy there, so it won't be very hard to figure out who I am. And I'll be with an absolutely beautiful woman named Carolyn, who's been my wife for 52 years. So if you can't find this raggedy old man, look for the beautiful woman, and I'm next to her.
Got it. Got it. Jon, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom even before the conference. And I
Pleasure.
can't wait to learn even more from you on Freelance Unlocked and hope to see you very, very soon in person.
For sure. Thanks, Yuri. It's always wonderful to see you.
Thank you very much. And for those who listen, I hope you learn from Jon's experience and say thank you to him in person at the Freelance Unlocked Conference on May 14th, 15th, 2025 in Berlin. So go to freelanceunlocked.com, grab your ticket, and meet you there.